We'll get our pledge allegiance for this.
Did you get Bill? Right, evaluation? I think it's in your mailbox. I think we're looking for that hopefully by Friday if you can.
Now we're recording. I just got notification.
All right. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the November 10th meeting of the Analaska Common Council. The time is 7 p.m. We'll begin with roll call. Joanne, do you want to do that?
Mayor Kim Smith,
Here.
Tom Smith,
Here.
Dan Stevens,
Present?
Stephen Knott,
Present.
Jim Olson,
Present.
Diane Wolf,
Here.
Carrie Burmaster.
Present.
All right, we're all here. Item 2, the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 is the rules of the City of Onalaska Common Council and its subcommittees, harassment-free forum. The City Council and subcommittee meetings shall be conducted in a courteous manner. Citizens, council, and committee members shall be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free of slander, insults, obscene remarks, threats of violence, or for use of the council or committee as a forum for politics. Sufficient warnings may be given by the Sergeant at Arms at any time during the remarks, and in the event that any individual shall violate the rules of decorum heretofore set forth, such person may then be cut off from comment or debate. Item 4 is public input. If there's any public that would like to address the committee, please begin by stating your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Would anybody like to address the Common Council this evening? This is the second call. I'm asking if anyone from the public would like to address the Common Council this evening. We don't have anyone in the chamber, so if you're listening online and you would like to address the council, now is the time to do so. Not seeing or hearing anyone, the public input session is now closed, and we'll move on to item 5, which is actually a public hearing. This public hearing is to consider adoption of a resolution to vacate and discontinue a portion of the Crestwood Lane located in Section 1, Township 16, Range 7 West, City of Onalaska, La Crosse County, Wisconsin. This public hearing is now open. If anyone would like to speak in favor, now is the time to do so. Would anyone like to speak in favor of the resolution to vacate and discontinue a portion of Crestwood Lane? This is the third call for anyone wishing to speak in favor. Not seeing or hearing anyone, that portion is now closed, and I will ask if anyone would like to speak against the adoption of a resolution to vacate and discontinue a portion of Crestwood Lane. Would anyone like to speak against? This is the third and final call. If anyone would like to speak against the resolution. The public hearing is now closed, and this resolution will be addressed under Plan Commission non-consent agenda item number 11A. Item 6 is a report from the mayor. A, recognition of part-time firefighters completing probation. We had 2 part-time firefighters fulfill their obligations for firefighter and emergency medical responder. These are Brady Effelman and Christina Pollux. I'd like to welcome them to the to the firefighter group, and unfortunately, they cannot be here today, otherwise we would recognize them in person. But please give a shout out to them online or as you are able. Hopefully, we'll be able to recognize them one day soon. In
Hopefully
person.
we clap. I don't know if we.
Okay, let's have a round of applause for our new part-time firefighters. Thank you. Recommendation for approval and/or possible action from the following committees, commissions, or boards. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests removal, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in the order of business on the non-consent agenda. Are there any items the councilors would like removed from the consent agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I'll entertain a motion to act on the consent agenda.
I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
We have a motion on the floor by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Smith to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to the non-consent agenda. Item 8, recap of items pulled from the consent agenda. There were none. Item 9, Finance Committee. Alder Stevens.
Thank you, Your Honor. Under item 9A, vouchers, the following is a list of monies expended since the last common council meeting dated October 13th, 2020. And the total is $1,601,913.64. And I recommend approval.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Alder Stevens, seconded by Jim Olson to approve the vouchers. Is there discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously.
Under item 9B, it's necessary, the Director of Finance has found a need for some corrective entries to the check registers from March 2020 to present. And the totals are for the month of April in the minutes on line 422. The corrected amount should be $5,947,325.33. For the month of July, on line 257, the corrected amount should be $2,202,965.26. For the month of August, on line 234, the corrected amount should be $2,515,923.63. And for the month of September, the corrected amount should be $2,195,745.75. And I recommend a change to the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Olson. Is there discussion?
Mayor, can I just ask what those, why would we have those corrections, Fred? Yeah.
In Excel, when I took over the responsibilities, I discovered is in the month of September, there was an issue, so I explored, went back, and so in Excel, the cell that was being used has slidden down for some reason and never put back up to where it needed to be, so it was not picking up.
Okay, got it.
The formula.
Okay. So then it was just,
And when I saw it, it was already too late to do a correction last month, so we did it.
Sure. thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes,
I
Alder
just
Stevens.
want to point out from my discussion with Mr. Bueller that this doesn't change the budget at all. This is just a correction in the minutes. So this doesn't change the books, it just changes the minutes to reflect the correct amount.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other discussion? Okay, so the motion on the floor is to make the corrections to the check register as described from starting in March 2020 to present. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Alder-
Under, yes?
I was just
sorry.
going to say Alder Stevens.
Under item 9C, Resolution 49-2020, authorizing the police department to accept a grant from the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance for a 2020 body-worn camera grant as a subrecipient and to work with the La Crosse Police Department as a grant holder. And I will make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Knott. Is there discussion? Not hearing any. Please answer as your name is called.
Tom Smith,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Jim Olson,
Aye.
Carrie Burmaster. Diane Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution passes unanimously. Item 10, Personnel Committee, Alder Stevens.
Thank you again, Your Honor. Under item 10A, Resolution 46-2020, to amend the flexible benefit plan, health or dependent care changes in status. This was put to the non-consent agenda as there was a late change that came after the agenda for F&P was printed. And with the event of the election, I granted permission to bring this forward to the Common Council today. There is no cost to the city. Essentially, this provides for more benefit options and with some of the hardships that people may have regarding COVID, for example, if they had a bank of daycare, flexible spending account dollars, and the daycare was closed and they had to stay home, they can transfer it to something like a flexible savings account for medical expenses. So it gives them more options and there's no cost to the city. So based on that, I will make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alder Stevens, second by Alder Smith to approve Resolution 46-2020. Is there discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Under item 10B, review and consideration of exceptions to the vacation policy carryover for 2020. There was some issues and perhaps maybe, I don't see Hope, is she in the cloud? They could talk about it, but there's some issues where employees with COVID and the elections and a changeover in staff and some training requirements were not able to utilize their PTO, and it's created some issues. We need to decide what to do. We could approve the change, deny it, or potentially do a payout. This was discussed at F&P, and we decided this was a matter for the full council to decide. I would ask if Hope or Eric, if they wanted to, had anything to add to this matter before it goes to general discussion.
Thank you, Alder Stevens. The resolution put before you is an attempt to direct the conversation today as to what the council would like to do regarding the requests today. Reminder, the policy we currently have and historically have had is employees may roll over 40 hours of unused vacation to the next year. Any amounts over 40 hours, you lose. Again, longstanding policy, and one of the benefits of such a policy for the organization is that it avoids any OPEB issues or any funding for potential retirement benefits if we have unlimited rollover. So you ultimately want to cap that rollover. So we had several requests in particular. I guess back up before the request, it's been my direction all year with department heads to communicate with their staffs of said policy And there was many attempts and many cancellations for vacations this year due to the COVID, spring break in particular, near the beginning of sort of the pandemic as it affected La Crosse area. Lots of spring breaks were canceled and people did not leave town and canceled their vacations. My direction all along has been, and in particular about a month ago, reminded staff, you need to book your vacations and use it because anything over 40 will be lost. One of the challenges has been, though, for particular staffs to put the request in that we saw at F&P is that the inability to take their leave was not related to their inability to travel. It was their actual inability to leave work. Had they requested time off, it probably would have been denied, or time off was not requested because it would have been denied. And so there are some employees that have leave banks that are more than the 40 hours that they will lose, but through no inaction or no fault of their own. They simply could not leave work. So that was the conversation, and where we are today is to see, does the council wish to amend their policy on a one-time basis for this particular year due to some of the extraordinary circumstances that we've been dealing with, and whatever guidance that the council gives either via resolution or not, I will administer that going forward. Barring any action here, the policy stands as 40 hours. Roll over, everything else gets lost. So again, what the resolution there is presented would be a payout in this year, would be the standards established versus rollover time, to be determined by the administrator, subject to the guidelines. But again, whatever guidelines you would like to do or direct, more rollover or more payouts in this particular year, I'll administer to your desires. Is ultimately the decision would be the council. Without any changes, the policy of 40-hour rollover maximum stands.
Thank you for that, Eric. So agenda items 10B and C are linked, with item C being one possible solution. Is that correct? Okay. Is there any other discussion? Alder Burmaster.
I would just like to say that I am a firm believer that I like the life-work balance. I do encourage people to take their time off. I do like to see people using it instead of having to carry it over, getting paid out. But I do realize with the circumstances that we have this year, we do have some individuals that this has arisen, and I don't want to punish them for being a good worker. We're the ones that are demanding them to be here. And if we want them to use that vacation, then I guess we should be a little less demanding. So I would be comfortable leaving it in Eric's hands to review what everybody has. I would still encourage them to use what time they could, but then pay out that other balance, because I do think that we should not have our employees losing out on vacation. That's a good way to lose a good employee.
Thank you. Alder Knott?
Yeah, so, looking at options, and I'm going to, city administrator might have already considered this, I don't know. But I know during my prior career in the military, we had a finite amount of leave that we had, vacation days, if you will. Every single year, we could only bank so much. And if we exceeded that, just like your policy here, you lose it. However, extraordinary means, think deployments, that are beyond the control of the individual. There were exceptions where they would provide temporary exceptions to the policy over a defined period of time where they could carry those additional days. And then very commonly, for instance, you could bank another full year's worth of vacation time, but you'd only have 3 years to get back down to the normal, or you're still going to lose it. So as an option for encouraging that family time, they can still use this, but maybe we just extend it. So.
Thank you, Alder Knott. Alder Smith?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. I think that this is an unusual year, circumstances, and, knowing the employees that are impacted, it's not like they couldn't take it or there was valid reasons for it. So as much as I'm a big believer of following the policy too, I think that we have well-defined exception here that would be very hard to redefine. Every year somebody else comes, it would, have to be reviewed. I don't want to set a precedent, But I think in these situations, I would support allowing them to continue to do it with some time frame.
Mhm.
They do have to use it so that it doesn't go on forever. So that's my thought.
Alder Stevens?
Thank you. I think it's important I'm glad that there is language in there that separates those who physically would not have been able to take the time off to keep the city running, and having a degree of discretion so that people that just didn't take the time off and they could have, in that latter case, I think our current policy should stand, and I like the language in the resolution 47-2020 that allows us to pay out to the people that had no choice in the matter, and the city had to lean on them for what's been a very extraordinary year. But we don't want that policy to be taken advantage of, and under normal circumstances, we expect people to take the time off in the year and not carry over more than what policy allows. So do we have a
We don't have
motion
a
on the floor?
motion on the floor,
All
no.
right. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we approve resolution 47-2020.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve Resolution 47-2020. The motion was by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Burmaster. Further discussion? Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. I wholeheartedly concur with Alderwoman Burmaster's comments this evening. For years, when we had a full-time mayor, request by request would come before us on occasion at the end of the year. I strongly feel with the city administrator now on board the last few years, the responsibility for approvals should lie with that position. There were unusual circumstances this year, not due to COVID, that should be recognized, and staff, I strongly feel staff should not be penalized because of actions and decisions of either the city administrator or department heads or of council. I certainly don't purport to know all the intricacies of who couldn't take vacation because of staff layoffs, or what the situation was because of elections. I believe the council should assign this one-time decision to do a payout to staff members, to the city administrator, based on his previously stated guidelines. At the end of the day, I don't believe anyone, especially council members, should be making personnel decisions based on personal feelings. We set policy and give direction, and I find this resolution most appropriate, and I will be supporting it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Wolf. Is there any further discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve Resolution 47-2020. The voting will be by roll call.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Jim Olson,
I'm.
Tom Smith,
Aye.
Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Carrie Burmaster.
Aye.
Motion, the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you. Alder
done.
Stevens?
All right, under item 10D, resolution 43-2020, City of Onalaska COVID leave for 2021. Essentially, this is a resolution to have a bank of hours for employees that may need to quarantine for the safety of the city, public safety, and the ability for us to continue municipal service. And I would make a motion to approve resolution 43-2020.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve Resolution 43-2020. The motion was by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Knott. Is there discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Under item 10E, review and consideration to fill open and budgeted positions for 2020 and to begin recruiting for 2021 positions in 2020, but start them in 2021. So we have budgeted for positions in 2021. And we want to be able to start them in 2021 as soon as possible. But we need to start the hiring process now. Maybe Hope in the Cloud. I don't know if there's other.
I am here.
Hi, Hope.
Hi.
Could you maybe say what I said, but more succinctly, or?
I think I can clarify it a little bit more. We do have a couple budgeted positions for 2020 that I know the council had kind of put on hold some positions until budget had gone through. The part-time paralegal and the I think it was the building recreation coordinator position have been budgeted for 2020, and they have been budgeted for 2021 as well. And so looking for permission to fill those positions yet this year, and then start recruiting for those positions that were budgeted in 2021. Start recruiting for those this year. It's going to take that amount of time to get the advertising posted and on like NeoGov and get the recruitment started, and then just get applications to come in, and then hopefully maybe get some interviewing processes done. And we might not get some of that completed, but at least started, so that we could get a head start a little bit on some of the recruitment processes, so that we can get people started hopefully as soon as we can. Potential heads up or get a head start of the recruitment for some of these positions. So, and that would be like the ARAP purchasing position. There's the public works operator / lab assistant. We have the part-time position for community outreach / marketing. So some of those positions we could start recruiting for like right away. And we would just need permission to do so.
Thank you for that, Hope. Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. So either Fred and or Eric, as far as the two positions that were approved originally for 2020 and also now for 2021 that we're looking to recruit and fill yet for 2020, the paralegal and the rec coordinator position, are there sufficient dollars for 2020 in case they are hired in 2020 to fill those positions? Eric is nodding yes. Okay. Just want to double check. Thank you. I will make a motion to approve 10E, review and consideration to fill open and budgeted positions for 2020 and to begin recruiting for 2021 positions in 2020, but start them in 2021. I want to know who wrote that line. That's a really.
It's accurate, I guess.
Sorry.
Okay, it's just funny to hear it.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Alder Wolf, seconded by Alder Knott, to approve filling the open and budgeted positions. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Item 11, Plan Commission, Resolution 45-2020 is the final resolution to vacate and discontinue a portion of Crestwood Lane, City of Onalaska, La Crosse County, Wisconsin. It was the recommendation of the Plan Commission to approve this resolution, and it also was the topic of our public hearing at the beginning of the evening today.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 45-2020, which is to vacate and discontinuation of a portion of Crestwood Lane, the City of Onalaska, La Crosse County, Wisconsin.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Smith, seconded by Alder Wolf, to approve Resolution 45-2020. Is there further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor of Resolution 45-2020, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Item 12, Park and Recreation and Library Board, Stephen Knott.
Yeah, so thank you. And before I address that, I do want to thank Dan Wick and the entire Parks and Rec staff all the Parks, Rec, and Library Board members as well, because obviously this will be the last time in the foreseeable future I'll be directly involved with that board, because with the election of Carrie Burmaster into that 3rd District alderperson vacancy, my understanding is you're going to be on that board from this point forward. So, and you're really going to enjoy it. I've been on that board on and off for many years now, and it's just really great people with great conversation and very beneficial conversation and debate, very respectful as well. So as far as the 12A, for information only, Parks and Recreation is renting space at N5550 County Road ZM to continue offering basketball activities. This is informational only. Dan Wick did call me and provide me the background to this. We have not done this in the past, but we also haven't had public school gymnasiums shut down before in the past either. So this is filling a need. It is within his budget, and he is still making money on that program. He is just making less money on that program.
Thank you very much. We'll take us then to item 13, report from Alderperson Knott. Stephen?
Yes, so Resolution 48-2020 to call on the state executive and legislative branches to end pandemic action within the constraints of the Wisconsin Constitution and state statutes. I'll make a motion to pass Resolution 48-2020.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Stephen Knott, seconded by Jim Olson to approve Resolution 48-2020. Is there discussion? Alder Knott.
So just go over a couple of points on this. I did go over the facts bearing on the issue to make sure that they were concise and accurate. I do want to go over real briefly because I know that Alderperson Burmaster was not here last month for this. But I want to remind everybody, this is not about controls or mitigation strategies, whether or not we agree or disagree with occupancy restrictions, masks, mandates, shutdowns, anything like that. It's not that. This is all about process. And that we need recognizing that even during times of extreme hardship, the defined and limited powers of a constitutional republic still remain in play. And that in America, the rule of law still applies to us all, regardless of station. And the purpose of representative bodies is to discuss and consider actions for problems. So with that, I don't think there's anything incorrect or even controversial in the underlying facts. So the resolution itself is, I personally believe it's appropriate for some symbolic gesture to reaffirm our own oaths that each of us took.
Thank you, Alder Knott. Is there further discussion? Alder Stevens?
Thank you, Your Honor. Having given the resolution some thought, I don't know that it's quite so straightforward. We discussed at the last meeting that this was really a symbolic gesture where we're asking two parties at the state level to try to work something out. And it seems that that's not a clear, that's not something that we can enforce. I don't know how you judge success on that. How do you determine whether the governor or the state legislature is negotiating in earnest? And what do you do about it if one's not? I mean, do we succeed from the state of Wisconsin? This resolution addresses a state issue and we're a city. Sometimes there's resolutions are appropriate when there's interaction between the state and the municipal level or potentially even up to the federal level. But this does not include that. I think that the resolution is not germane to the role of what the city of Onalaska should be dealing with.
Thank you, Alder Stevens. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure because you just stopped and I'm like waiting for like I'm waiting for
And another thing.
Okay, Alder Knott has his hand up, but let me ask first if any other counselors would like to speak before going back to Alder Knott, so everyone can have one turn first, and then Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've looked at this a number of times, read it. I see that, it has, therefore, it has 2 points on the bottom. City of Onalaska is calling on the Wisconsin legislative branch to do their job by working with Governor Evers to determine responses, blah, blah, blah. And 2, that the City of Onalaska considers all current and any future gubernatorial emergency orders addressing the current pandemic emergency as having exceeded his 60-day emergency authority. I read that, it sounds like you're spanking, it sounds like we're spanking the governor. When I look at number 1 and number 2, I mean, what, are we looking to send this to the governor? Are we sending this to the legislature? Are we sending this to Boston Fitzgerald? What is the intent of this if we were to pass this evening? I guess that question is for Alder Knott.
Okay, are you done speaking?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Okay. Would any other alders like to speak? And then we'll go back to Alder Knott. Alder Smith?
I agree with Diane. I like number 1. I think number 1 is, we need to work together as a group. Number 2, I think it does sound a little bit more like we're telling them, and this is where the courts make those decisions. The court has already been in there before, said that he passed his authority. And I think we're going to see that again with the next series of things. But I think from a city role, I really question whether it's our role to determine that and leave that to the courts. But I do agree with number 1. I like this written better than it was last month. I think it's much more, if we want to send a message is that you guys need to work together and get your act together. I like that part because I think everybody's frustrated that we're not there with that. But I don't like the number 2 because I don't think that it's our position to say he's exceeded the authority, whether it's right or wrong. We have to leave that to the courts. So from that side, I support number 1, but I do not support number 2.
Thank you. Alder Olson, did you want a chance to say anything before we go back to Alder Knott? Okay, Alder Knott, got your notes?
So as, we mentioned last month, this is symbolic. I fully understand that it is not enforceable, but we pass symbolic resolutions all the time out of this board. Or out of this committee, I should say. What does it do? It lets our own citizens and the state elected leaders know that that we take our oath seriously and that we expect them to take their oath seriously as well. That using, I guess, the terminology I heard from Alderperson Wolf, we aren't spanking the governor, we're spanking both of them in this, saying that, basically you need to do your job. And you have limited and defined powers and you can't exceed them. And as far as us, trying to determine what is exceeding authority, that's not what we're doing here. It's stated inside of the facts underlying the resolution, all those whereases, that the courts have already stated that he's exceeded his authority and that he is, so it's sending out a message to both the legislative body and the executive branch that the way things are being done right now, we don't believe they're acceptable and you all need to work together. That's what it's doing. And also there was one other question from Alderperson Wolf too, as far as who do we send this to? I think we discussed last month that we would send it to both the legislative leaders, both the majority and minority leadership, as well as the governor's office.
Okay, thank you, Alder Knott. Is there any other discussion? Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. So is there anything from a municipal government point of view as far as the Wisconsin League of Municipalities that you as our mayor could represent us instead of a resolution such as this?
Right. Well, actually, when the COVID emergency first began, we were in discussion with the League of Municipalities, and I think the League of Municipalities has decided to not act on it because it became more of a political issue rather than a municipality issue. And Carrie, I want to apologize. I was trying to make sure all the alders had a chance to talk and I need retraining. I am so sorry. You can have the floor.
I was kind of agreeing with them. I would consider the resolution with point number 1 being in there. I would rather eliminate point number 2. I don't think that, I could support it with that in there. Because I think a lot of the confusion that we're getting in the state is because the governor's doing something, then they're undoing it. We keep redoing and undoing, and it's like, we need everybody to work together, and that's kind of the goal we're trying to take. He's already been informed of that. We don't need to throw that at him again. I mean, he knows that. It's like he's been told that by the court. So like I said, I don't think that's a necessary point that we need to be making in there. So I said I could support it if we had it with just point number 1 in there.
Okay, Alder Not.
Yeah, my concern, if we eliminate number 2, is that we have just potentially made this political, because number 1 is specifically addressing what our potential shortfalls of the legislature. It's really both. So number 1 talks about the legislature, number 2 talks about the executive branch. By eliminating 1, then we're putting total emphasis on the other. And that's my concern with that.
Okay, any other discussion? Alder Smith?
Could we just take number 1 and combine it and say both the City of Onalaska, Wisconsin legislature and the governor work governor, take number 2 and kind of merge it a little bit in.
I see. Yeah, I see where you're
I
going.
mean, I get what you're saying though, instead of, number 1 is only focusing on the legislator.
Primarily, yeah.
And second, but I think if we could take number 1 and blend it so that, you both need to work together and figure out a way to say it that way, I could support it.
All right, let me work on something here. Okay. So I'll, I guess, make an amendment that the proposed resolution under the, therefore, let it be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Onalaska that, and there will be only 1 paragraph instead of 2, and the new paragraph will read, the City of Onalaska calls on the Wisconsin State Executive Branch and the Wisconsin Legislative Branch to do their jobs, it would be plural, by working, or to do their jobs by determining responses to our current and future pandemics that take into account the constitutional rights and the safety of the citizens, period.
Okay, and then item 2 would be removed.
Correct, yes.
Can you read that again, just to?
So the City of Onalaska calls on the Wisconsin State Executive Branch and the Wisconsin Legislative Branch to do their jobs by determining responses to our current and any future pandemics that take into account the constitutional rights. So can I adjust this since it hasn't been seconded yet? Rights, process and processes and the safety of the citizens. So it's constitutional rights and processes and the safety of the citizens.
I can, Mayor, I can live with that. I mean, I think that sounds better to me.
Okay, so we have an amendment by Alder Not, which has been seconded by Alder Smith. Is there discussion on the amendment? Okay, so now we're voting on the amendment. Let's do roll call. If you're voting in favor of amending as described by Alder Not.
Carrie Burmaster,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
I'm going to abstain.
Jim Olson,
Aye.
Tom Smith,
Aye.
Diane Wolf.
Abstain.
Okay, so the amendment passes with 4 in favor, none against, and 2 abstentions for the record. Okay, now back to the original motion, which is to approve Resolution 48-20. Is there any further discussion? Alder Stevens.
Just maybe a follow-up question. I wonder about the inherency of the resolution. I know within the last at least 48 hours, Speaker Voss had proposed to outreach to Governor Evers, and Governor Evers was speaking at the time that the meeting started about COVID. So it's very possible that the resolution is actually, we might be too late, that this might already be accomplished. I'm not going to beat a dead horse by saying that, this isn't the realm of city government, but statewide events might have made this whole thing moot at this point.
Thank you, Alder Stevens. Alder Knott?
If that is the case, this would still be a reinforcing action. So reinforcing that they're doing the right thing. I still have no problem with it.
I agree. I mean, from my perspective, it can't hurt. I mean, even if it's a done deal, or if they do something, that's even great. Now, at least we've gone on record as it's a concern of ours.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, not seeing any, then we'll go ahead. And the motion on the floor is to approve Resolution 48-20 as amended. Will be a roll call vote. Sorry, Joanne.
Dan Stevens,
This isn't our ballpark, so nay.
Diane Wolf,
Oh.
Jim Olson,
Aye.
Carrie Burmaster,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Tom Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-2. Item 14, report from City Alderperson Burmaster.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to give a thanks to the District 3 electors who supported me during my campaign and voted me into the District 3 alderperson seat. I appreciate that, and I find it an honor to serve you. Also want to give a shout out to all the City of Onalaska voters who came out in a record number. We had a 90% turnout, which is more than we've ever had before. Which also in turn, thanks to our city clerk and her staff, because that turns around and means a lot more work. So like I said, this is one of those elections that's going to go on for a length of time with a possible recount in the future here. So like I said, this is going to be a turbulent time here to try to get through all of this and get all the work completed in a fashion that everybody is happy with. So like I said, I want to give thanks out to everybody who was a part of this and the additional staff that has helped everybody to get this accomplished. It really is an accomplishment for a city to come across with all of this and get everything accomplished in the way that we did. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 15 is closed session. To consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 19.85, paragraph 1, paragraph G of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically water damage on the 1900 block of Pine Ridge Drive, Onalaska, Wisconsin, 54650. If any action is required in open session as a result of the closed session, the Common Council will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and/or continue on with the printed agenda.
Move that we go into closed session.
Second.
Motion by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Wolf to go into closed session. This voting is by roll call.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Jim Olson,
Aye.
Carrie Burmaster, Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Tom Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. We are in closed session and the time is 7:50. We'll pause for a moment for technical